Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. Back to do my 2025 room tour. I usually do a room tour once each year and kind of delayed getting around to doing it this year, but decided I had a few extra minutes today, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my room tour. It hasn't, the overall general layout hasn't changed that much. I've changed a lot of stuff inside of it, but the layout is still basically the same. So, I figured what I'll do is just kind of take the first 4 minutes or so, 4 or 5 minutes, and just walk around the room and do an overall scan. And then I'll come back and kind of, talk a little bit more about individual stuff. So that way, if you just want to watch the first 4 or 5 minutes of the video and see it and not hear me talk, then it'll be there for you. The one thing I will say, kind of starting off, is this is definitely kind of a lifetime of collecting. I mean, when I was younger, not like I had like a bunch of money or anything like that, so I wasn't buying a ton of cassettes. Or even in college, when I started buying CDs, I wasn't buying a ton of CDs either. But everything that I did get, like for the most part, I've kept it. So an accumulation over an absolute lifetime dating back to the early 80s, stuff kind of adds up. So anyway, let's just kind of go through, and we'll start with just kind of doing a general scan of everything. So of course you just have like the entryway here. Kind of going right down. That. Then we'll just kind of do a general scan from this area here. And then that's what was behind me there. All right, then right over here, you have that wall, as well as bathroom here. All right. Step back out here. And you have this wall, which you typically see a lot in my What's on the Wall videos. So that's probably one for those of you who follow my channel are pretty familiar with. Okay, so that's that. Actually, then you got the system over here. And then that's what it looks like going back that way, including the Van Halen wall there. All right, so then going back this way, CD area here, cleaning room, processing room right there, which I'll come back to. Again, CDs here. And then you got this area right back here. And that pretty much gives you kind of a quick general tour of like the space. So as far as like particulars, which a lot of this is kind of self-explanatory, over here you have easy listening and classical. So I don't have a ton of that, just the stuff that I really like. The center section right here, this is R&B as well as blues and country is what you have right back in kind of these two rows here. Excuse me. Cassettes right up on the wall there. And, you know, one thing that you will kind of notice, and I've talked about this in years past, as you go around my room, you'll see I'm very much into dividing things into genres. I know some people hate that, but it's just something that I really like to do. So yeah, it's like even my R&B section here, it's a little bit more so in my rock, but you'll see even a little bit in my R&B section. You have 60s, 70s R&B, 67 ladies R&B. Then you have some individual artists, but you have like a Stax section. You have a Motown section, gospel, funk, some more individual artists, 80s R&B, and then kind of swinging around here, some 45s I need to kind of process and clean and get into my system. You know, going into 80s R&B again, 90s R&B, reggae, world, blues, and country. So that's kind of how I like to organize things. When I talk about, now that I mentioned, I'm standing right here, you know, keeping things for a long time, like even this box right here, these are mixtapes that go back literally like 5th grade, like going back with these cassettes. You know, so even like all those mixtapes that I had from way back in the day, I still have all of those things, and actually, you know, play them every now and then. I like kind of diving back in and hearing the order that I had things and what I had on tapes and that type of thing. So, like I said, I really, truly kind of kept everything. And back here, of course, you have cassettes, which again are kind of organized the exact same way as the rest of my collection. All those little yellow dividers you see there, kind of separating out the sections. Like, you know, you start with metal, you go into glam metal and blah, 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 and then 60s, 70s, 80s, classic rock, blah, 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 blah. So those are all my cassettes right there. Over here, you have deluxe CDs on those 4 shelves. And then, you know, any of those double CDs, like with the bigger cases, are right through here. And then any CDs that have the outer slip case, keep right down there. And then just kind of some classical there. CDs I pulled out of my collection a while ago when I was kind of going through and trying to make sure that only CDs in my collection were all kind of perfect, glossy, like mirror type CDs. So anything that had a scuff on it or whatever, I took it out. And there's a couple places I go and get them buffed out. So as I kind of take them there, you know, I get them buffed, you know, get them back to like new, and then they get put back in my collection. So again, talk about keeping things down below. You guys remember when burning CDs was such a big thing back in the day? Well, you know, I kept all the CDs that I burned. So I still have all of those as well. So that's what you have there. CDs organized just like, you know, the rest of my collection. They have the separate genres, kind of starting right here. Classic rock, psych, 60s, 70s, 60s, 70s, ladies, 80s, 80s new wave, 80s ladies, 90s, 90s ladies, blah, 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 blah. Going on down into R&B and funk, and then rap and hip hop at the end. Then it jumps over here into country, compilations, and then just individual artists that I have, you know, their own little dividers. And then this is all kind of hard rock and metal, hard rock, glam, and metal throughout here. So that's how the CDs are divided. Again, just kind of taking advantage of more wall art here. I cleared off this shelf and kind of put this stuff up here. These are things that have been given to me by friends and some VCLT from a few people. So I'm just kind of keeping them all right here until I get a chance to listen to them before I put anything in my collection. You know, I have to listen to it from front to back. So that's just kind of where I'm keeping them as I'm going through and doing that. On the edge here, you have jazz, smooth jazz, and soundtracks. So that's what's right here. And I guess since we're already facing this corner right here, this was a coat closet, a pretty big size coat closet, storage closet, that I decided to turn into a cleaning room and processing room instead. So, you know, all my inner and outer sleeves right up through there, you know, liquids and fluids. And this is also where I keep all my DVD box sets right up there. Packing and shipping material. And like I said, this is really all put together by furniture that was left here. They got this place completely furnished. Just, you know, some person just wanted to kind of pack up and leave. It was actually their grandparents that had passed away. And so made an offer for the house without them having to do anything, and they loved that idea and gave an amazing discount, but left a bunch of really cool furniture and stuff that I was able to use to do stuff just like this. So everything you see in here with all the tables and the, chair and the shelves and like even the little light there and the trash can, like all that stuff was left here. So cleaning processing room, ultrasonic cleaner, little drying racks. That's where I usually keep all the albums that need to be cleaned. I just keep them up in that little bin right there. All the cleaning material. So that's where stuff gets cleaned and processed before it gets into the collection. And then stepping right out over here, the only other thing that I really collect would be 80s movies and pretty much any of the 80s type of teen comedies or just the stuff that's classic 80s, it's not necessarily all comedy. Because, there's stuff like Back to School, Beastmaster, Better Off Dead, BMX Bandits, Busting Loose, Can't Buy Me Love, DC Cab, Funny Farm, Losing It. I mean, The Heavenly Kid, Grease 2, Gotcha. Just all the things that made the 80s freaking fantastic. That's basically what this is right here. So, absolutely love this. And then, just kind of other little things to decorate where I picked up some old Atari cartridges and then a Rubik's Cube and stuff like that, just to make this as 80s as possible. Autographed copy of Pretty in Pink by Kate Vernon there. This is going to be a box set I'm going to decorate. And basically it's just going to be like all my 45 80s soundtracks here. Like, Phil Collins stuff. Yeah, so that's what that's going to be once it's done. And at the bottom here, these aren't 80s movies, obviously. These are just movies that, kind of movies that are very well known, referenced a lot in other movies that I had not seen before. So I just kind of made a little commitment a few years ago that when I do find them for a couple bucks here or there, I'm going to buy them so I can know exactly what people are talking about when they're talking about Citizen Kane and Casablanca and Gone with the Wind. Because that wasn't stuff I watched when I grew up. So I've been kind of taking in, I guess, the classics, if you will. Books and just kind of, decorative stuff down here. And of course, you've seen this row of vinyl a number of times. Down below, pretty much all my cubes down below are just empty. So just taking advantage of the artwork of other albums by putting them on those little easels that you can get at Walmart for like $1 or so, and just kind of, adds for a nice decorative touch. So starting over here, you have white label promos, half-speed remasters, and things of that nature. So some pretty cool stuff like, Boston white label promo, AC/DC Who Made Who, Sabbath white label promo, Jethro Tull white label promo. So definitely some neat stuff in there. Then coming up here, you just kind of start with your basic rock. So 60s, 70s, going into 60s, 70s ladies and folk and progressive rock and disco and psych and garage rock and then classic rock, 80s new wave, 80s ladies new wave, 80s pop rock, 80s ladies pop rock, 80s guitar rock, 90s, 2000s, 90s, 2000 ladies, synth pop, and then kind of ends with dance and techno. So that's kind of how I have that little section organized. And then when you spin over to this corner here, this section right here is basically just individual artists that have their own divider that I just kind of separated out from the rest of the collection. Really, the only rule I have about that is an artist has to have at least 5 albums before I'll consider making a divider for them. But yeah, so you can kind of see the names here. I don't have to go through and mention all of those, but just another way I try to, or I like to kind of separate out and organize my collection. So, mixing genres there too. So then it goes right back down here and then ends here. And then that last cube there is just all my autographed albums that aren't on the wall are right down there. And some more autographed albums right there. What else? Well, before we leave this room, actually, let's go over here to the system. BMW 683 S2 speakers, really fantastic. Sansui G7500 receiver. Kenwood 500 turntable with a Denon 103 moving coil cartridge. Phonobox 2 preamp there, little tube preamp that's pretty nice. And then the Cambridge Audio 351C CD player. So that's kind of the system, which I'm extremely happy with right now. Over here, you have just kind of a CD wall, decorative wall. Again, just taking advantage of artwork. 45 box sets up top, just a little way to display those, and then 45s down below. Not an insane 45 collector. Basically 45s, I buy the songs that I like, and they have to have the original album artwork, but I could care less about rarity, you know, all that type of stuff. I'm just looking strictly for titles I like that have the artwork. So yeah, by chance, you know, I've picked up some over the years that were very, you know, valuable, but yeah, typically I'm looking for just that one track I really like for 50 cents, and that's about the extent of my going into 45. So I'm not a crazy 45 collector at all. Little table right here, have my reel-to-reels down below there. Little artwork I put underneath the glass. Couch there, of course, with the pillows and all that good stuff. Some stuff up on the ceiling there. Little Eddie Money, little NWA and Grand Funk. And right over here in this little bin, this is where I keep stuff that I want to spin. So stuff that's on deck to be spun. And then to the right is stuff that I've already spun. And this is basically the cube where I get everything that I show you guys in my What's Been Spinning videos. After I play everything from anything I play from front to back, I tuck it right over here until I get a chance to share it with you guys in one of those videos. Bathroom is pretty self-explanatory, right? My MoFi CDs in this little display rack that I got at a shop a number of years ago. Just sitting off in the corner. The guy gave it to me for a couple of bucks, which was nice. Old piece that was here that, again, I just kind of used. I painted it, just used it to store stuff. You know, I just kind of need places to throw crap. Compilations. And then over here you have punk section, small punk section. And then soundtracks divided into soundtracks and why the 80s, you ask? And just all the fantastic stuff that made the 80s so great. You know, I mean, just all the stuff that puts a smile on my face. I absolutely love this section. So that's kind of my 80s soundtrack section there. Down below, this is just kind of where I keep all my digipacks that I have on CD. So just kind of a way to give them a little extra protection so they don't get roughed up with all the jewel cases and everything. But yeah, so that's what that is down here. Just all the digipacks and little Godsmack tribute wall over here. You know, Godsmack's my favorite band, so I kind of have, you know, a little bit of stuff by them here and there. Even though I don't really like that table, I'm going to swap this out and do something else over here. But yeah, just kind of all my Godsmack stuff, you know, autographed CDs. The original CD they were kind of selling before they got signed. Basically, the songs off of this became the songs they re-recorded for their first debut album. Yeah, that's kind of the one they were selling out of their trunk when they were trying to get up and running. More signed CDs. Signed original copy when I met Sully back in 2012. Signed copy of his book, The Paths We Choose. Actually, that was when I met him, when he signed the book that time. I met him in Boston. So yeah, so Godsmack stuff right there. And then vinyl-wise, right over here, this is where we kind of start off with hard rock and go into grunge and hard alternative. A few individual artists separated out there. End up going into kind of glam. And then kind of metal. And then more individual artists with just their own tab. Or divider, whatever you like to call it. So that's what that is. And then on the other side, this is where you have hip-hop. So this is divided into old school hip-hop, and then just general rap and hip-hop. And then you have some individual artists separated out here. And then my Walmart exclusives. So for whatever reason, I like keeping the Walmart exclusives separate. Just kind of a fun thing to do to me. So, excuse me. That's out here. More autographed stuff on the wall. Death Angel, Metal Church, Overkill, Testament, Kitty, Melvins. Probably my favorite autographed album right there. OG copy signed by Buzz and Dale. And then you have this cool 3D artwork that we still sell some at the shop, not as much as we used to, but you can kind of see there it's a little, say it's 3D, it's about maybe ½ an inch or so, where the guitars are raised off of there. And so, you know, some of the legends right there. All right, and then before we go into the office, I mean, well, I guess I kind of showed you this at the very beginning, so I don't have to go through too much of this, but just, you know, different artwork here. Again, autographed albums, autographed CDs right there. More autographed stuff there, thanks to Mr. Billy Crayoni. And then, you know, it's kind of bandanas and stuff I've gotten from concerts and all that good stuff. So not much to really go into there. Excuse me. I do love that run, that poster there. Kind of cool. All right. A Rattlehead that I'm still kind of working on. Haven't quite completed it yet, but still just need to finish kind of the earpieces and the little, you know, things around his mouth, and he'll be about complete. But my own little personal Rattlehead there. And then my office right here. Gonna give you a general scan of that. All right. And then, of course, got posters and everything on that side as well. But general layout here, just like the other room, you know, just stuff up on the wall, kind of rotate that. System over here, you have the Sansui G5000, Project Genie turntable, Onkyo CD player, and then a pair of BMW 685 speakers. Definitely a nice little system there as well. Sounds fantastic. This shelf right here, these 4 cubes, this is all of my Japanese stuff. So Japanese vinyl, Japanese CDs, and then the 4 little Japanese box sets that I have. So that's where I just kind of keep all of that over here. And all organized much like the rest of the collection, but that's what that is. You rotate over here and you have record store day stuff. And over here is just kind of like, you know, I guess some of the nicer things I like in my collection that I kind of keep separate, and I put in these cool little like hard edge sleeves, almost like the same way they do when you actually get the grading done, and they seal them in those whatchamacallits. But you know, it's really hard corners on them too, so it, you know, offers a little extra protection and that type of thing. So just where I keep some of my stuff in there, period. So I just put those there. Coming right over here, this is where you have all my jazz right through there. And I guess you can kind of call this an audiophile wall right here. I mean, this is where you have Analog Productions, Mo-Fi, and then all Tone Poets. And also any acoustic sound stuff. So that's what I keep kind of in these cubes right here. All right. And then, yes, I'm sure you probably noticed the stupid little red rope down there. I don't know. I was sitting at my desk one day, and when I arranged it like this, every time I looked at that little gap, it made me think like, it's almost like a VIP area, like the way it's designed to have like this one little area to walk through. And I was like, well, what if I did have like a little red rope across there? And I looked on Amazon, it was only like $12. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to make a little VIP area. And then that's just a bathroom rug that represents the red carpet. So yeah, those are the type of ideas that I get at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm just hanging out in my music room. But basically what this back section is this is all my box sets back here. That's what you have back in the VIP section, let's call it. So again, kind of give you a quick scan of everything back here before we kind of step in, because I'll be a little bit too close. All right, yeah, so when you step into the VIP area, now basically the way my box sets are set up here is that all of the boxes that you see down below, so everything down here, all of these boxes are empty because all of those albums are up here. And I just found that when I pull them out of the boxes and just put them in sleeves like I do my regular collection, I play stuff out of my box sets more when it's just so much easier to access. So that's kind of what I did here. So all of these down here are empty because they are filling up these up here. And so you have all the David Bowie, you know, the 5 box sets here, rap, hip hop, jazz, and then just kind of pop rock throughout here. And then all the metal and hard rock ones here. So everything from, like, you know, your Ozzy box set to the Deep Purple to the Rainbow to the Wasp, Led Zeppelin, all that good stuff. So that's what that is. Now when you come up here, all of these box sets from here all the way to the Fleetwood Mac right there, those are all sealed. So those are box sets where I have not opened them yet, which I know some people have an issue with that, but again, that's a whole nother video. I can kind of talk about that, but you know, pretty much everything in there, I have listening copies of stuff. So I mean, there's not a single album sitting there that I have not listened to or I can't listen to right now. It's just that for whatever reason, I wanted to keep these sets sealed. And as of now, they are. Actually, same thing with my one-steps here. I'm not a huge one-step collector, but yeah, the Joni Mitchell and the One Eagles are open because I do like to listen to those, but the other ones, I'm cool with keeping those sealed right now. These down here are just kind of decoration because these are obviously open and stuff is in the stacks down here. These have LPs in them, just maybe don't have the sleeves that fit well down here, so I just kind of keep those up here, but all of these have the LPs, and of course the Bowie box sets are empty. But anyway, so that's how that's how my box sets are arranged. This right over here, these are all of my homemade box sets. When I find those old beat up carrying cases at shows and stuff like that, you know, they usually only cost $5 or so or whatever, and you can get one. But then I take them home and just kind of paint them, decorate them, put stickers on them and all of that. I just kind of make my own box sets. So that's the Motley Crue, and I'm not going to pull them out and show the backs and all that, but kind of gives you an idea. The Motley Crue set that I made, Van Halen, White Zombie / Rob Zombie, my Sabbath one, AC/DC, Depeche Mode, Linda Ronstadt, Kiss, as well as Rush. And that's a White Snake one down there, kind of a snake skin one. So those are my homemade box sets. Regular CD box sets right here. So again, just kind of having them displayed, nice easy access, as well as having them up here as well. So those are just CD box sets. And then when you turn around on the back side here, this is where all of my long boxes are. So that's where I keep all my long box sets. So, step out of the VIP area. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the office is like there. All right. So I'm sure there's probably something I missed or something you guys would like to have in more detail. So if so, leave it down in the comments. Maybe I'll make like some follow-up videos if you want some more specifics on things. But yeah, like I said, that kind of gives you a pretty good idea of kind of how the room is laid out. So as always, VC, thanks for stopping by. Let me know what you guys think, and we will talk to you soon. All right, take care, guys.